Greetings, shield companies. This is me, on my brief respite from the throne room. I am currently in the process of calculating the integrity of the blood pumps, and I thought it would be as good a time as any, excepting all other times ever, to record a list of my top favorite Primarchs. Yeah, that's good. From worst to greatest. Now, please, I know you and the emissaries might try and quote-unquote fact-check me into one of the dark cells, but please, you keep your judgment as you do your figure concealed. This is not but my opinion, churl. I do not tout it as our Emperor's objective truth. As correct as it in fact is. So, here we go! Number 20, skip. Number 19, skip. Number 18, Conrad Curse of the Night Haunter. Unwashed, toxic, ghoulish, scrawny for a Primarch, and no! Ew! Absolute ew! Scrawny and Primarch are words that should be kept as far and away as a novel series worth of text from each other at all times, much less be used within the very same sentence. And yet Conrad curses this reality by making this description apt. Hate. As far as I have heard, he was also killed by a normal, which... that's like a normal dying to worms. It could certainly occur, but it is so earth-shatteringly embarrassing, it can simply not be spoken of. That being said, I am glad he is dead, for he was a spiteful bastard who would probably have my eyes turned to soup if ever he heard this. Number 17. So, I am someone who puts high stock in hygiene. It is technically one of my greatest charges as Caretaker. I am the one who has to make sure that our Emperor, stasis-bound as he is kept sterile, without corruption, within and without. So with this in mind, the very idea of Mortarion causes me great discomfort. If our Emperor was ever to have Mortarion return to Terra, which I pray does not happen, I will fight to have him pressure washed with Titan-grade cleaning agents and burning promethium before even being allowed in the system. Every night, I hug my sponge collection in sheer dread at the thought that this return could become a reality. Number 16, Perturabo. Yes, I am aware. Casting Perturabo in the ditch and shitting on him is exactly what everyone, including his entire family, has done since the beginning of time. He is not exactly a popular pick. In fact, if every other Primarch are the picks of the litter, he'd probably be the litter. As in, litter as in trash. He's garbage. And that is exactly the reason behind me putting him this low on the list. And yes, indeed, everyone treats him like garbage. But he also acts like garbage, so... justified? There is some kind of a causality dilemma here, though. Like, is he treated like garbage because he is garbage? Or is he garbage because he is treated like garbage? Is he the chicken or the egg? Some sort of really bitter, like childishly bitter chicken egg hybrid thing? I don't know, but garbage is garbage, and I'd prefer it thrown in the compactor. Number 15, Alfarius Omegon. I know some enjoy the mysterious type, but honestly, bit too much this one. These ones, whatever. I'm not much for charging into the fray without thought. I wish to assess my targets before engaging as much as any of the 10,000. Know where I have them, my targets. With this context in mind, Ferris and or Omegon, even speaking to them is like... I was going to say laying oneself bare. That is mildly funny. Basically, it'd be too vague as to whether or not he'd enjoy your presence, or if he's just evaluating your skin in case he needs it. Not a fan. Number 14, Corvus Corax. Right, so yeah, I am aware placing a loyalist Primarch this high or low on the list. It's quite controversial, and you may call me traitorous for reasons intentionally designed to be impossible to argue against, but look! Fuck you! I do not condone the actions or personages of any traitor Primarch that comes after this one. I am just judging these Primarchs by my tastes. Okay, so yeah, Corvus Corax. I'm sorry, it's like Conrad Curse, but better, which sucks, because Conrad Curse is the worst, and it is quite hard to build oneself a ladder out of the abyssal shadow cast by the Spite Haunter. Corax is alive, however, and heading towards Terra right now. To him I say, there is still time to build that ladder. And by build that ladder, I mean building that build, and please, get a less slimy looking haircut. Those bangs are that of the sewer. Number 13, Lehman Russ. I know. He's popular. He's popular. Especially with those giddy for rustic brutality. And I will give him his due credit. He is built. He is a woven wonder when engaged up close. But there's just so much hair. So much hair. It's everywhere. One can barely get a glimpse of that physique. It sits like a fir tree plantation. I don't want to have to check my tactical display to know my location when in this man's immediate vicinity. I'm sorry. I will consider bumping him up if he just consider attaining a brush cutter. I want to eat, not floss. Number 12, Magnus the Red. Preemptive apologies goes out to my shield brother, who's a total Magnusite, but Magnus is what we in the business call a humongous nerd. Okay, so, to be entirely fair, Magnus has some nice sides. He is steadfast in his beliefs. He seems to always be trying his best, and not only is he quite bulbous, but said bulbousness is entirely accommodating due to his malleable presence in the material. All extremely interesting, and I would not blame anyone for buying into those selling points. I'm just not too into self-pity and like books. We don't match, that's all I'm trying to say. Okay. Number 11, Vulcan. Everyone loves Vulcan. His empathy is like an endless ocean. His moral character is his all. But listen, I am a custodian. I am a tomb. And I don't know about you, but I am perfectly aware of and accepting of that. With this, I do not believe I have the obligation, nor perhaps even the ability, to have the same level of empathy for the common folk of the Imperium as the likes of Vulcan. I do not care for the normals, the citizenry of the Imperium. It is not my job to care. And so it is, I do not care for Vulcan, for we have nothing in common. Also, his armor is green, and that's like my least favorite color. Number 10. Horus. Okay. So you might be surprised that the great betrayer, the one responsible for the Emperor's entombment, the one who razed our Imperium to the ground and lit a slowly spreading fire in its place, got so high on the list. And yes, that is quite inappropriate. But have you seen how fucking massive he is? Okay, that's it. Number 9, Lorgar. Oh. Okay, so you might be surprised that the first heretic, the apostle of primordial evil, the vile snake that helped plant the seeds of the Imperium's downfall, made it so high on the list. And in addition, he's both extremely small and weak for a Primarch. He's very preachy, he's condescending, he has intense daddy issues, and why is he so high on this list? Actually, I'm sorry, this is a mistake, my apologies. Lorgar is number 20, actually. I accidentally traded place between Primarch 14 and 19. The latter of which is significantly more respectable and substantially sized. Sorry, huge mistake. Just like Lorgar. Number 8, Agron. Agron. He is quite violent in an extremely over-the-top manner. It's not something I would usually go for, no. Honestly, it perturbs me slightly, and being in his presence would more than likely drive me to drink. Promethium, that is. But somewhere deep within, I feel like I can, at times, relate to Agron. And I feel like maybe I could fix him. His power and his temper could be honed like an axe upon a grindstone, and that grindstone could be me. I feel like beneath that rugged, bloodied exterior, there is untapped potential as a very effective masseur. Number 7, Fulgrim. Justifying putting Fulgrim this high is incredibly hard because he is definitely not my type in most regards. He is quite thin and petite, Primarch way. He is all about sharp angles and sleek forms, long and straight, all pomp and no substance. It's just not my thing. But, just like how I am not necessarily a great bulging fan of a certain art form, does not mean I cannot truly, deeply appreciate a perfectly crafted piece of art within that certain art form. That's my justification, and it's not perfect. It will have to do. Number 6, Jagat Khan. Jagat Khan is quite rugged and brutal, much like Lehman Russ. But he is, well, he's not super hairy. And If I was a die-hard mustache man, then wow, I would perish in mustache land and the Khan would be my slayer. Furthermore, he stands by his code of honor in a way unlike most other Primarchs. I find that knowing who you are, knowing what you are, knowing your beliefs and standing by them is an exceptionally ravishing thing. And that is why I stand by this opinion. Number 5. Sanctumious. What? What? I hear you stab these words into my eardrums. Fucker, how dare you not put the great angel at the top of your list? I will have you converted into nutrient paste, bastard! Okay, please! Hear me out. I could not in good confidence put Sanguinius any higher on this list because, put simply, he is out of my league. He is out of everyone's league. I mean, sure, he's a Primarch, and the Primarchs are mostly out of our leagues, but Sanguinius, it's different. He is the succulent, forbidden fruit hanging in the garden of gilded perfection that the Emperor himself has prohibited you from ever as much as glimpsing at. That is honestly too much for me. Sanguinius might be iridescent in his splendor, but the constant threat of being unmade with even a thought of doing absolutely nothing at odds to him, not a thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't deal with that. Moving on. Number 4, Ferris Magnus. Magnus is strong, steadfast. Sure, he might not be the most corporeally inviting of the Primarchs, but the rigidness of his ideals to improve humanity makes him, in my mind, so disgustingly handsome. Yeah, handsome. Hands, because iron hands. Speaking of his actual, literal iron hands, love that for him. That gives him an edge above all other Primarchs as far as I'm concerned, if stripped to bare essentials. 18 Primarchs in the showers on Terra. Ferris Magnus is choking the shit out of them. Oh, good. Okay, number 3. Lyon L. Johnson. The Lion, as a concept and as an aesthetic, resonate with me far, far more than the Lion does as a person. But these things, the aesthetic, the concept, they resonate with me so incredibly hard, they make my gullet vibrate. Gallant, valorous, like someone out of an ancient tale. His being, or the idea of this being, exudes chivalry, and it makes me wish to rip apart the chainmail I desperately wish I was clad in. Had Caliban yet existed, I wish I could have gone there. On a journey alongside the Lion, 2 steeds and a normalite bard in tow, whom we could torment for his inadequacies. Number 2, Rogel Dawn. So this is a slight bit awkward. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with Dorn for a good while now. He's been present in the palace, ever guarding his father's remains, much like the rest of us. And yes, he is quite forthright. To the point where he could just as well stab you to death on a whim if he honestly thought you were a flaw in the structural integrity of the palace. But that is also what I adore about him. He knows when he is right. He knows when he is wrong, and he will stand by the truth no matter where it may lead. He is a fortress that cannot be beset. and I would love to find a life within that fortress. Okay, number one. Rubuzi Gilliman. Okay, first of all, fuck you! I know how the sayings go. I know the jokes. I know the everlasting bandwagon that is ridiculing Rubuzi Gilliman and his children. I know it all. I've heard it all. It is a common thing within our ranks. But I am better than that. I am immune to your lampooning. I see Gilliman for what he truly is. A man with a godlike jawline, and a beautiful boy who wishes to do his best by our Imperium. He is honorable, he is just, he is noble, and he is self-aware, which is exactly what you wish to imply he is not. I know better. I know he is what the Imperium needs. And when he returns, and he will, I am going to be a proponent of His Majesty, as he once more becomes the Lord Commander of the Imperium, and aids our Emperor in turning this morass of incompetence back into a tidier morass that is not on fire. And that is it for my favorite Primarchs. If you have your own personal favorites list, then please do not mention it in the vicinity of our Emperor, lest you wish to be pounded into the ground in the worst possible manner. Okay, that's it. Bye!